Welcome to World Talk Brief.
It's a really interesting question, isn't it? If you could just press pause and look at everything that happened in a single 24-hour period, what would you see? What kind of patterns would pop out? Would it just be chaos, or would you see connections? Well, today, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to piece together a diagnosis of our world from a handful of stories that, on the surface, seem to have nothing to do with each other.
So let's start with this idea. It's pretty simple, but really powerful. The strangest headlines, the ones that really make you stop and go, huh. They're often more than just weird little stories. They can actually be faint signals, little clues of much deeper, more complex things brewing just under the surface. Okay, so our first signal, this one's really visceral. We're going to start with the profound strangeness of the human body itself, and then see how it connects directly to the fragility of the systems we've all built to take care of it.
So what you're looking at here are the details of one of the absolute strangest medical cases you could ever imagine. Okay, get this. A 16-year-old boy, perfectly healthy, had a fully formed canine tooth growing in the orbit of his left eye. We're talking about the space right up there between his eyelid and his eyebrow. I mean, surgeons had to perform this unbelievably delicate operation to get it out, navigating a total minefield of nerves and muscles that control our vision.
Yeah, it's no wonder this story just blew up online, right? It taps right into this thing called the biological uncanny, that deep, almost primal fascination we have when the body does something it's not supposed to do. Producing something totally familiar, like a tooth, in a place that's completely impossible. It's just this wild reminder of how strange and honestly unpredictable our own biology can be. But, while the world was captivated by this one really strange thing happening to one person's body, a much more tragic story was unfolding inside our healthcare system. The killing of Alex Preddy, an ICU nurse, sent absolute shockwaves through the medical community, and it sparked this slogan, "We are all Alex Preddy." And look, this is about so much more than just one horrible crime. It's a symptom of a system that is under an immense amount of stress. Healthcare workers are reporting targeted violence, incredible burnout, and this growing sense that they are vulnerable in the very places they're supposed to be saving lives. So they're not just mourning a colleague, they're demanding huge systemic changes to protect them. It's a clear signal that the pressures on our society are starting to break down our most essential services. And the thing is, this crisis is hitting from two sides. While medical staff are feeling unsafe inside the hospitals, some patients are now just too scared to even walk through the doors. This quote from an obstetrician nurse in Minneapolis, it's just heartbreaking. It speaks to this fundamental change in the whole atmosphere of care. And that feeling of being unsafe, it's not just for the staff, it's spreading to the patients too. Doctors describe this chilling effect. The very perception that immigration and customs enforcement might be present is causing people, especially in vulnerable communities, to avoid getting the care they need because they feel hunted. And the consequences? They're just catastrophic. It could lead to higher maternal and infant mortality, create pockets where infectious diseases can spread, and at the end of the day, it harms the health and security of the entire community. Okay, so from the fragility of our own bodies and our healthcare systems, we're going to pull way back now and look at the fragility of the planet's own life support systems. Specifically, what some people call its water towers. So there's this new study out, and it's introduced a really sobering new idea, peak glacier extinction. This isn't some vague, far-off prediction. It's a scientific term for a very specific period of time, the period when the highest number of glaciers are projected to disappear forever. And the scary part? That peak is projected for the 2040s. That's not far away.
So to really wrap your head around what's at stake here, think about this number. Right now, there are roughly 200,000 glaciers on Earth. And, these glaciers, they're not just pretty scenery for postcards. They are absolutely vital. They store about 70% of all the fresh water on our planet. They are, quite literally, the world's water towers, feeding the rivers that billions of people rely on.
Okay, now for the number that is just absolutely staggering. Under one warming scenario of 2.7 degrees Celsius, scientists project we're going to lose about 3,000 glaciers every single year during that peak extinction period in the 2040s. Just try to picture that. It's a rate of loss that's almost impossible to get your head around.
And this isn't happening in just one place. The impact is absolutely global. We're talking about the near total extinction of glaciers in Central Europe by the end of the century. In South America, the water supply for 90 million people is under threat. And right here in North America, most of the smaller glaciers are expected to just be gone by 2050.
You know, the loss is already so real that people are actually holding funerals for glaciers. This is the message on a memorial plaque in Iceland for Ökçakul, its first glacier to be officially declared dead. It's just this somber, haunting message from our time to the future, a direct admission that we know what's happening.
So we've seen the pressure on the natural world. Now let's turn to the institutions we've built for ourselves. From huge global sporting events to our own national security. Are they really strong enough to handle the pressures of today?
Let's take the 2026 Winter Olympics, for example. We think of the Olympics as this great symbol of unity, integrity, and fair play, right? But the reality for 2026, as investigations are showing, is one of massive budget overruns and, even more alarming, infiltration by organized crime. Groups like the Ndrangheta Mafia are reportedly getting involved in major construction projects, turning an event that's supposed to be about global celebration into a massive opportunity for corruption.
And look, this is just one signal of a much bigger problem, this fragility in our institutions. The criminal risk at the Olympics is just one piece of the puzzle. At the very same time, you've got significant geopolitical risk, with reports coming out of China suggesting President Xi's trust in his top military generals is fading, which could create instability in a nuclear-armed power. And then there's the personal risk, highlighted by the tragic disappearance of a 7-year-old British girl in Morocco, an event that tests international tourism safety and emergency response systems to their absolute limits.
Okay, so after looking at all this risk and all this fragility, you might be asking, where does that leave us? Is it all bad news? Well, the last part of our 24-hour snapshot shows something else entirely. It reveals these powerful threads of human resilience, incredible moments of shared wonder, and a really deep debate about control.
So you have the corruption at the Olympics, but then you have these other stories from the world of sports that tell a completely different story. A Ukrainian refugee is making history in equestrian vaulting. Older amateur figure skaters are just shattering ageist stereotypes. A young athlete with paraplegia is inspiring thousands of people. And in Czechia, they've built a massive artificial icefall, literally adapting to a warmer world so that athletes can keep doing what they love. These are all signals of resilience.
And then, sometimes there are these moments that just cut through all the noise. Just in the last day, a really powerful geomagnetic storm caused the aurora borealis, the northern lights, to be seen vividly all across the UK. And for a moment, this incredible natural event created this sense of shared wonder, connecting millions of people in a moment of just pure awe. And all of this, really, brings us to a final big question. It's prompted by a debate that's happening right now in the UK over a potential social media ban for minors. In a world where all these boundaries are blurring, between our own bodies and the systems that manage them, between the natural world and our technology, between freedom and safety, this is the central challenge. So what do we choose to control? To protect ourselves, to protect our future? From a tooth growing in an eye, to the last of our planet's glaciers, to the light coming from our children's screens, these are the interconnected risks and the choices of our time. Subscribe to World Talk Brief for more clear, thoughtful explanations. World Talk Brief. News explained without the noise.